I'd like to introduce the first speaker. This inimitable person has spoken before this group any number of times and has thrilled us with his conveyance and wisdom and jocularity. And so today, with today's speech, inspire your audience from the specialty speech man. Kanda will have met his last requirement for the Advanced Communicator Silver designation. This, of course, is magic hair. We are all fascinated by the top 10 lists, and Kanda has just that as a theme for a day, a few weeks ago. Today, he's going to take us in a search of what he considers the 10 most beautiful urban settings in the world. Are your bags packed? Is your passport in hand? If so, it's time for an adventure. Mr. Kanda Alahan, world's finest setting. Urban setting.
Eric is my clicker.
On the remote control. Should we cut the other lights too? How can you see all right?
Can everybody see?
Well,
that
there's
just fine.
actually nothing on the screen. Oh, you're going to do off.
We're going to do it. Yeah.
Not working for world's finest.
Yeah, it's that Mac here.
Don't make that man more
And
Eric.
I'll get to see that Eric over there. Yeah, the bottom right hand.
Yeah, it's perfect. You can, yeah. You can do it. Well, you can see it. Yeah, I think so. Perfect.
I thank Eric for being my clicker.
You might want to hurry up.
Well, fellow Toastmasters, Mr. Toastmasters, I must first apologize for arriving late and not being ready to sync my Apple up with the PC. We are here and we do have an alternate way to do this. Greatest urban settings. The world, go ahead, is blessed with great cities. Paris, and other smaller, older cities, and amazing new cities. The world is also blessed with great natural settings, mountain scenes, waterfalls, and a wonderful Caribbean sunset. Great. But where do we find the two melding into our harmonious one? There are great cities, but some cities are on plains. There isn't anything of interest in the natural setting of the city. And then there are great natural settings, but for some reason, there's obvious reason there's no city there. You can't build a city on the top of a mountain. You can build a city in a beautiful area that accentuates or highlights the vibrancy of that city. Now, as Gary mentioned in his introduction, we are fascinated, I am fascinated, by top 10 lists. And I have spent a lot of time looking at lists of great cities and the reasons these cities are great. And there are so many lists, and of course these top 10 lists are all a matter of opinion, although they use arbitrary factors to create these top 10 lists, but the bottom line is all my evaluators here.
Oh, Jim is here. Good.
The top 10 lists are all, which fundamentally comes down to a matter of preference. And I will give you my preferred top 10 lists. We're going to visit every continent and some islands, and we will see the world in its most beautiful way. We will start with number 10, Oslo, Norway. In the European capital, the capital of Norway, at the head of Oslofjord, the city of Oslo is the smallest city on my top 10 list, but it's a vibrant city. The people of Oslo are very outdoors connected. They are very involved in hiking and skiing and so on and so forth. But they have good reason to. There are beautiful mountains just outside the city, as you can see to the north, going to the next one. And Oslo Fjord is a beautiful fjord as well. This is pulling back and looking at Oslo from a farther distance. This is the head of Oslo Fjord, where Oslo sits. The advantages of Oslo is it's a very modern city. Disadvantage, it is considered by many accounts, the most expensive city in the world to live or to visit. So you may not want to stay long in Oslo. Let's go to city number 9, Istanbul, Turkey. Now that city is unique in that it sits on in Europe and Asia, the only city in the world that sits on 2 continents. Go to the next picture. And you can see a bridge there connecting the European side to the Asian side of Istanbul. It is a vibrant city, a Middle Eastern city, but a Western city too. Very powerful economy, a growing economy, and a lot of the entrance to the Black Sea on one side and the entrance to the Aegean Sea on the other. And beautiful beaches, beautiful land around it. After that, we're going to go nearly halfway around the world to the biggest city on Australia, Sydney. Go to the next picture. Sydney sits on an inlet, a bay that serves as a beautiful natural harbor. And of course, there's the Sydney Opera House at the lower left. The beautiful beaches. Behind Sydney is the coastal range, the Great Dividing Range of Australia, and a lot of activity there. It's the host of the 2004 Olympic Games, and it has been discovered as a great city for not just the city life, but for the surrounding beauty of the area. Number 8, we will go to New York City. Now, what's so special about New York? It's just a bunch of tall buildings. Well, not really. In this picture, you look down Manhattan Island towards New York Harbor. It's a beautiful natural harbor with the Statue of Liberty in it. And if you were to look the other direction, this is looking south, you're looking north, you see Central Park, Great Central Park, and beyond that, the Hudson River Valley, a beautiful valley of the Hudson River. New York City is the financial capital, of course, of the United States, the biggest city in the United States, the home of the United Nations, and also the entrance to beautiful natural surroundings outside of the city. Number 6, Cape Town, South Africa. This is, now we've been to Europe, Asia, Australia, North America. Now we are in Africa. Cape Town is on the peninsula near the southern tip of South Africa, of Africa, and it sits at the foot of Table Mountain. It's a beautiful natural setting that is awe-inspiring to those who come. Go to the next picture. This is another picture looking up towards Table Mountain from the city of Cape Town. Cape Town was host to the World Soccer Cup a couple of years ago, and it is a vibrant city, beautiful beaches. There's wine region where you can go see the wineries nearby, and of course farther out there are the beautiful natural settings of wild Africa and the wild animals of Africa. After that, we come to Honolulu, Hawaii. Middle of the Pacific Ocean, Honolulu anchors the island of Oahu. Next picture. Just a few miles out of Honolulu, going up to the Napali Cliffs, you have a beautiful view of the windward side of the island. After that, we are going to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. It's an incredibly beautiful natural setting. The bay, the mountains, it's Sugarloaf Mountain, and the other mountains surrounding Rio. It was hard to consider it just number 4. In many ways, it could be considered number 1. Hard to decide between the top ones. Next picture. Here's the Copacabana Beach. And over here you can see, this is an artist rendition of a monolith that's going to be built for the 2016 Summer Olympics that are going to be there. Now, before we go any further, we have visited every continent, all six inhabited continents, and an island, Hawaii. Now we go back to Asia for number 3, Hong Kong. It is in an interesting area, tall mountains all around it. Go ahead to the next picture. And you can take the cable car, or not the cable car, but the tram, up the mountainside, look down on Kowloon and Hong Kong Harbor and see the beautiful mountains around there. Vibrant city, along with Shanghai, the financial and economic capital of China. Go ahead and go to the next one. Number 2, Vancouver, British Columbia. Beautiful city at the foot of the coastal mountains. Next picture, another shot of Vancouver. In many, many top 10 lists, they list Vancouver as the most livable city in the world. Are we on the 5 to 7 or 8 to 10?
It's 10,
Okay.
the time, yeah.
I'm going to go lower. Where on earth can we find the best urban setting? What is the most livable, the most
Concord.
How did he know? I don't know. San Francisco Bay Area. Go to the next picture. The city of San Francisco itself is beautiful, rolling hills. Next picture. And the harbor and the history around the city. And there's the Hoyt Tower. But it's not just San Francisco. It's the bay, it's the mountains, Mount Tamalpais, the wine region of Napa Valley, the coast going up towards Mendocino, and the coast going south towards Big Sur. We are blessed to be living where we do. And here's Mount Diablo as well, right where we live. You can see, look real hard, you can see us right there. We are in the number 1 most beautiful urban setting in the world. What's the next one? Go up to the top of Grizzly Peak, one sunset, look down over the whole bay, and consider yourself blessed because you are living in the most beautiful, wonderful urban area in the world.